Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Champions of Self podcast. Thank you for joining today. Today, our special guest comes from India. Her name is Malini Rajendran. Hopefully, I got that right. How are you, Malini?
Good, Ben. Good to be here.
Awesome. Thank you for joining. It's 1 p.m. my time. What time is it over there?
1 in the morning,
Oh,
midnight,
what?
past midnight.
Oh, goodness. Well, this is I feel honored then. My goodness, I didn't realize it was that late. Well, hey, thanks for joining today. So, Malini, let's get started by you telling us who you are and what you do.
Oh, God. Okay, well, at the present moment, I'd like to say I am a divine being having a human experience
I like it.
and living that human experience to its fullest, having discovered that I am a divine being. So I'm enjoying the ride. And the main thing is it's now my mission in life to get across to as many people as I can and help them reclaim their divinity. And that's the only hope I think on the whole planet humanity has. If they understand that they are divine and this is just a human experience, and then they're given the tools on overcoming it, going past it, dealing with it and transforming life and living life to their fullest potential as they are meant to be lived. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Well said. That's a great thing to help people with, so we appreciate you. Tell us how you came about this. Why is this so interesting to you? I saw your bio and you have a lot of incredible things that you've done in your life. So just give us a summary there.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm 65, so I've been around the planet for a fairly longer time than you. But also, I have the privilege of not being very linear focused or academically smart. So I landed up doing anything and everything that came my way, which is why you see that diversity of jobs and fields that I've sort of delved into. But every one of them has been a journey which I've gone into right to the deepest level, experienced it, enjoyed it. But I was still looking for my mission in life as to why I'm here. And I guess that's a question all of us ask. Who am I? Where am I from? Why am I here? And what is it that the greater creative force wants of us?
Mm-hmm,
I mean,
true.
there is a reason. There are no coincidences in life, and I truly believe that. And everything happens in perfect timing as per perfect design.
Right.
The problem is we have to get out of the way and allow it to happen. But I got here through a very interesting situation in from the 31st of October 2018 to the 26th of November 2018. Within that span of 26 days, I fell down, I broke my back, I went blind, and I was diagnosed with bone marrow cancer.
Wow.
So there wasn't things that they could get rid of. Usually cancer is a slash and burn kind of a thing. When here, you just have to deal with it because it's in the bones. But I've been meditating, Ben, since 1989. And I've gone through practically every school of meditation and every training protocol of meditation. And I was teaching it. I have this bad habit of when I learn something, I go deep into it, and then I feel, okay, I know everything, now I have to teach it. You want to go and share your message, whether someone wants to learn it or not. But, it's literally like the rhyme of the ancient mariner. Catch whoever is you're passing by and tell them, look, I got something to teach you. But the thing was, most of it was from the mind, and I didn't know it then. The other thing is, being the curiosity cat that I was, I like to have scientific explanations to phenomena. I like to go into the science of things, why things happen, how things happen. And I realized, that, okay, I was meditating, I was teaching them. So when I was lying flat out on my back, because when you have a broken back, it's very painful. The slightest of moments really can hurt. There's not much you can do. And since I was blinded by an acute glaucoma attack, which just came out of nowhere. So I didn't even have the luxury of looking at my phone or reading or watching anything. And then the treatment from the cancer did its own little bit of putting me in a space which was, I don't know which planet it puts you on, but it puts you elsewhere. So I would landed up meditating for 15, 20, 22 hours a day. I mean, whenever I was, there, I was meditating. And that's when, in one of those sessions, I started being shown so many things. I was shown so many truths. And the bit by bit, the eyesight came back because I was shown a method and a protocol of how to go about physically healing the body. Then the back healed, and 4 months down the line, my cancer report was no myeloma found. And
that's incredible.
I let it, yes, it was a gift. Actually, it was a gift. And I guess it also, at that time when I was I was handling 3 companies, I was working 20 hours a day. I didn't have time to think, stop, look at anything. So I guess this was an enforced break, reset, like what the corona is doing for all of us. People who are not willing to listen will be shown the way, kicking, screaming, you'll be taken to the altar.
Right.
And this is nature's, universe's design for doing this. So sometime in September of 2019, I kept getting this message intuitively that you have to put this out to the world by March 2020. And I was thinking, oh God, come on. Because at that time, I was helping as many people who got in touch with me, mostly from the cancer center. And they wanted to know what was it that I was doing that was keeping me so happy. Every time I would go for the chemo treatment, I would be full of bells and whistles, and they were wondering, look, what's happening? And I said, I'll teach you. So 1 went to 2, 2 went to 3, word of mouth. I was teaching about 7, 8 people, and I was happy doing that. And then from September, and this thing wouldn't go away. I kept ignoring it. It wouldn't go away. And then I had no choice but to go into the public domain, launch my podcast, launch my website, launch my courses. Now, all that I teach is available online on my courses, because that's the only way. Because it's not theory, it's totally immersive, experiential program, and you have to put it in. And once you enroll, you're in it for life. So that's what I do.
Very cool. That's fantastic. Thank you. Tell us, and we're going to get into a story that I really want to hear in a little bit, something that you and I talked about before this conversation. Yeah. But through all your healing and through your life experience, with all your education and everything that you've gone through, what role have emotions played in your success today?
Oh, everything. Because I on an academic front and on a business front, I was a total failure in terms of how businesses are evaluated. I basically, look, I'm an innovator. I make things, I create things, and I jump off, I get an idea, and I don't even stop to, analyze it and see whether it will work or not. I don't do the Google test on it, I just jump off, go into manufacturing, and for some odd reason, I have a natural talent for making things. So I know manufacturing. I'm not an engineer, but you give me a product and I'll work out the manufacturing supply line, for it. It's just something, it's like music, some people can do it and some people can't. But so I started manufacturing a whole lot of things, all these ideas that came to my head, but I couldn't market them. And you can't market, you can't make money. So there was a time when, it was nice. It's a big ego trip. And I've been a teacher almost all my life. So your students think it's fantastic, man, you're such a motivation for us. And I'm also dumb. I don't give up. I'm a pit bull. I don't learn from my mistakes, in the sense that in business, my son tells me that, Mom, if you're not making money, it's not a business, it's a hobby, But but having invested money, because production and manufacturing costs money, you have to do it. So emotions have been a big part of my life, and I come from a family of intellectual giants. And when you're the village idiot, you get picked on from a very young age. So emotions have been a major part of me. And I think if you, it's divine grace, Ben, if you are, if you have the strength and the resilience to understand what emotions are, then you use them to build and to grow.
Mm-hmm.
You don't use them to be defeated.
Right.
Because look, there are only two things that cause those kind of emotions. One is fear and the other is shame. And they're both, you know, two sides of the same coin. You are ashamed of doing something, and then you are afraid of what repercussions would come out of it. And that's where most negative emotions start. Because in my experience, after my illness, I realized positive emotions, especially the emotion of unconditional love, the emotion of gratitude, is so all encompassing that it really doesn't get in your way. It uplifts you. The problem is with the other coin in your pocket, that is fear. And it took me a long time, you know, because what happens is in India, if you, especially in my community, education is everything. Academic performance and brilliance is everything. And it, you know, it used to be small things like people would come, you know, I mean, we're a big family and India is full of festivals and people visit. All my brother and my sister and my cousins would be introduced to guests. I would never be introduced. I mean, you don't introduce the village idiot anyway to the people who come.
Mm-hmm.
And for a long time, I was in denial. But then my mother always said that it doesn't matter. You're good at so many other things. And I started finding what it was that I was really good at. And fortunately, people who are academically brilliant aren't good at it. I was good at innovating. I was good at making things. I was good at putting things together. I was good at planning, designing. I was good at managing events, you know, organizing things together and doing it perfectly without a hitch. So I started saying, okay, it's not important. I need to do that. And right through my school and my college, I was never in class. I was either on the playing field or I was in a competition or I was in theater or I was with the music group, you know, so you learn to find it, but you need to deal with it and you need to use it as a strength. And that's the tragedy I'm finding with children nowadays, with this generation. And social media doesn't help anyway, sort of digs you into the hole even further. Thankfully, we didn't have social media. You had to physically be in front of someone to be bad or rude to them, you know. So if you kept yourself out of their physical sphere, you went picked on, or people went rude or bad to you. But the kids nowadays don't have that choice.
Right. Yeah, two things from your story I wanted to bring up real quick, where you said that you know, you were considered quote unquote the village idiot. Whether that was verbally stated or it was perceived by you, right? Either way, still has a similar effect on you emotionally, doesn't it? Where
Of
now
course.
because of the comparison or because of how you think people see you, how you think you're seen by others, and I know same thing worded different ways, but those come with feelings that are absolutely real. And what you said is that your mom told you, you know what, you don't have to worry about that because you're good at a lot of other things. Now, her probably coming from a place of good intentions, saying, hey, I want my daughter to be happy and focus on what's good, and that's how she can get through life. That's great. But the validation of the emotions still needs to happen, because what you just taught us are two good things. You have to validate and experience the emotions and know that you can do something positive with them or after them, right? So with those emotions, we got to say, look, I definitely felt this way. And let me understand why I felt this way. I understand my relationship with some people. I understand myself a little bit more because now I know what affects me, positive or negative, right? And then after that happens, we say, now I understand myself better, and I know my strengths and weaknesses, my opportunities, and now I can do something positive in the world. But like you're saying, if we just go to the, well, I'm not going to focus on what I hate or what I don't like, I'm just going to focus on what I'm good at, there will come a time where those emotions that we didn't resolve in the past will rise up and affect us when we're not quite ready for it.
Yeah, it'll pile up. It'll
Yeah.
pile up. You know, it's also, I realized one thing is very young, that it's easy to develop a sense of humor. And you have to learn, it's an art, to laugh at yourself. At sometimes it's a reverse psychology working, you know, when you go out of your way to make a joke about yourself. But sometimes you actually learn to enjoy laughing at yourself. And then you realize that, you know, there's a saying, don't take yourself too seriously, nobody else does anyway. You know, it's there in one of the books I read when I was very young, and I told my mother, she said, you don't, I asked her once, I said, you don't take me seriously at all? She looked at me and she said, depends what you're up to. If you're up to mischief, and we were very naughty. We had 3 siblings, terribly naughty, got into a whole lot of unbelievable scrapes. So she said, yes, I would take you seriously because I know you guys are capable of really being naughty. But otherwise, I wouldn't take you too seriously. It's all there. And, you know, it's a gift to learn how to live in the moment. The whole problem is when you start playing the tape. You know, when you start when you start regurgitating events and all that.
Right.
No, dust it off, move on. Get on with it.
I like
But
that.
that's a grace, that's a gift. It has to be taught and it has to be learned. Because I have cousins who are still very competitive. They're all in their 60s and 70s and they're still competitive. But the thing is, they're reliving their competitiveness through their children, which I think is really sad for the kids. You know, the kids are so uptight. And you know, it wasn't that I believed that I was the village idiot. It was actually, I mean, I was told so. You know, very clearly.
Verbally stated, huh?
Oh, yeah. You know, it's like, who do the dishes? Of course you'll do the dishes. In any case, you ain't good at anything else. These guys are smart. They have to go and read and get marks in the exams. So, I mean, it couldn't be more blatant than that. You know?
Right. Yeah. I want to go back to what you said about being able to laugh at things, right? Not taking things too seriously. That is an important way of releasing the energy that comes from the emotion. So, and I want to make sure that the listeners understand this difference very well, because we never just skip the step of validating and experiencing emotion, right? It's because we have skipped that in the past that we have what I call emotional pain or unresolved emotions. But once we do and we say, look, yeah, somebody called me the village idiot. I absolutely don't feel okay about that. It makes me upset, frustrated, sad, maybe a little bit depressed. And now I don't have much confidence in myself, all sorts of feelings, right? But if a certain circumstance occurs where maybe you made a mistake in front of somebody and then they called you the village idiot, and now that's a tape, like you're saying, that we play to ourselves, where we try to be successful people. We have a lot of intellect. We try to do a lot of good things. And then if we make a mistake, the tape that we play says, oh, you're just the village idiot, right? But if we can learn that once we understand that emotion and have power over it because we have power over our thoughts, then, like you're saying, we can laugh about it. And that is a definite way of releasing that energy.
You know, the trick is actually decoding this process. And that was something I learned very young.
Uh-huh.
You know, it's amazing when you meet someone and someone says, hey, you're looking very nice. And then in the course of that interaction, they say something hurtful. Have you ever noticed that when you replay the tape, you never remember the part that when they said that you look very nice? What keeps replaying is the parts that hurt you. Mm-hmm. Now, if you know this is what is happening, then there is a method, there is a trick. And I learned this. There is a trick. You have to learn. You have to learn that this is a code that for some odd reason, at this point, mankind is in that state, because all around you, everybody is having a one-upmanship game. Everybody is trying to get the better of someone else. Everybody feels, you know, in India we have a saying, the crab mentality, that I may not do very well, but I'm not going to let the other person succeed either. You know, this is a global phenomena that's happening across. It's now gone beyond the point of being just sheer jealousy or envy or any of those things. You know, this is something very, you know, visceral. So if you can uncode it and you know that, okay, I will consciously look for what were the nice things in that interaction with that person. Okay, they said that, fine, good. Get lost. You have to tell that thought in your head, bye bye, see you. You have no place here. You actually have to, it takes training. It's like doing 20 push-ups. It's like running a marathon. You have to train your mind to get rid of what was unpleasant, because you know it was unpleasant. Say, okay, fine, thank you very much, bye bye. Get it out of the way and focus on that. Ideally, you know, in one of my spiritual training programs that I went through, the various things, which was the Brahma Kumaris, they explained to us, and I went into this training program when I was in a very dark place. I was in such a dark place, I was contemplating murder. You know, it was really, really dark. And I don't know, it is divine grace. They have the center, the Brahma Kumari Center. I've been living in that area for almost 9 years, and I pass that door every day. I've never noticed it. But that day, that whole night, I was in such a dark place. The next day morning, I don't know what happened. You know, it's on the way to the market where you go to pick up whatever, the milk, the bread, the eggs, and that sort of stuff. And I don't know what happened. I just opened the door and I walked in and I sat down there. And, you know, this happens by divine grace. You're shown the darkness and then you're pushed into the light. I must have done something really good in my previous lifetime, honestly. And I went in there and we started the course. And it was a 1 week's program, and they got me out of it. They were young, were girls younger than me, but they were so wise, so in tune, so trained to do what they were doing. And they told me, you know, there are 4 types of thoughts. One is toxic thought. The other is negative thought. Then you have neutral thought. You have, 5 types, positive thought. And then you have divine thought. The moment a thought occurs, identify if it is toxic, negative, and even if it is neutral. Just get rid of it. Say thank you. What is a toxic thought? When you're thinking ill of someone, when your thoughts are towards scheming and planning to harm someone. What are negative thoughts? Negative thoughts are always about yourself. I'm not good, I'm bad, I'm this, I'm that. This situation has happened, you know, this always happens to me. Things never work out for me. I'm always being picked on, and you know, life is unfair to me, and I'm always the one who has problems. And the neutral thoughts are thoughts which really, you know, like, should I wear a black shirt or a white shirt? You know, should I go for a haircut? These are, you know, what should I have for lunch? Should I have a cup of coffee? These are the neutral thoughts. Then positive thoughts are good thoughts, you know, which are positive, which are seeing good in people, seeing good in a situation. You could have the same negative situation, but if you learn that, okay, I need to get a positive thought on this, so I will now look at what's the good of it. I'll share with you a story about this positive thought situation I went through, which was, I seem to have a surrealistic life. I have the most bizarre episodes in my life. And the divine thoughts are the thoughts where you are connected. There is no duality. You're connected with source energy. And it is something unbelievable. You know, you are in a different sphere. You don't matter. What's happening to you doesn't matter. That's a state of bliss. You go into that, you enjoy it. This was 2016. I had gone to Dehradun for a government workshop where I was asked to make a presentation, and I took the night train and I returned back to Delhi at 6 in the morning, and I was road jacked at 6 in the morning. and it's the busiest part of the city. And I was roadjacked, my stuff, I was completely wiped out. And this was such a organized, planned incident that the guys who took my wallet cleaned out my bank accounts. All
wow.
within 25 minutes. They knew the system, they knew how to operate
Yeah.
it, because they took my phones, they took everything, they took my wallet, they took everything, they had everything.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, first of all, I went through complete, I just shut down. I didn't talk to anybody. You feel violated. Of course, I went through the motions. I went to the banks. I shut down the bank accounts. I shut down the cards. I went to the police station. I lodged a complaint. I did all that. But I just didn't want to talk to anybody. I felt violated. I felt angry. I felt foolish. I felt stupid. How could this happen to me?
Mm-hmm.
It took me 15 days to come out of it. It's not easy. I mean, I make it sound like it's easy, but it's not easy.
Mm-hmm.
And the
Right.
irony was, at that time, I was teaching a course on forgiveness. I was teaching a meditation program on the heart meditation, on forgiveness. And on date, I think it was the 20th day, I just said, okay, what is the lesson that I am being taught? And this is something I want all your listeners to hear. Every time you have an event that appears negative, that is a failure, where things don't go the way you plan them and you want them to go, the first question, forget your reaction, forget your emotions. Put the brakes on, stop and ask, what is the time to learn here? What is the message that's reaching out to me to be, what am I to be being taught? What am I learning? And then it hit me. I said, my God, what is it that drove these guys to this? And it was a gang of four people, to do this kind of an act. What was their need? What was their requirement for so much of money? They cleaned out 7 bank accounts. I had 7 cards. And in India, you have to have multiple bank accounts because each bank, it's another long story. The efficiencies and inefficiencies of our systems here. So you protect yourself by having multiple accounts in multiple bank accounts, so that if one is shut down or one's not working, you have access to it somewhere else. And what was it that drove these people to do this? It took 20 days, I can tell you. It didn't happen overnight. But when it did happen, it was so liberating. And I said, oh, this is upfront in your face, a lesson on forgiveness. It's one thing to talk theory. It's one thing to forgive from here. But when the bullet hits you in your heart and then you learn to forgive, boy, that's the true forgiveness that you learn.
Yeah, that's an incredible story. My goodness, thank you for sharing. I really like what you were telling us about thoughts. And ultimately, the message there is the emotions, of course, are valid, but we have control over how we feel. Now, for people to really understand what this means, just like you're saying, that event happened to you, and my goodness, you were flooded with all sorts of emotions. That's totally normal, right? And most of us would have felt the same way. But you, as you've learned, can choose forgiveness, can choose to learn, can choose to say, of the 5 options of thoughts, where are my thoughts coming from? Something that I've learned is, what thought do I have to believe in order to feel this way? Okay, that's another power thing to do. And then real quick, an example of mine, just the other day, I received a notice on my door, and it was something I wasn't very excited about. I'm like, what in the world? What are they going to talk about? And I could have freaked out for hours until the person called me back, because I had to call in and see what was going on. But luckily I was like, you know what? Yes, I could freak out. I could be nervous. I could be upset. I could start saying, who in the world would do this? And I could start blaming people, yada, yada. But then I thought, hold on here. I don't even know what this paper is about. So it doesn't really do me any good to go down this route of negative thoughts, toxic thoughts, which bring harmful emotions and spiral. I can say, hold on, I'm going to choose my thought right now. and I'll deal with the situation when it comes. That is power over our emotions, because like you're saying, we understand what types of thoughts we're having. I really
This
like
was
that.
a
Thank you.
learning. I mean, I really thank those girls for teaching me this. It's part of their course that they teach you. First, understand these 5 types of thoughts. And the moment you get a thought, put it into the pocket and learn to deal with it. And there are different techniques. You know, I used to teach, a lot of people have a lot of baggage, which has genuinely happened to them. You know, there's been abuse, there's been all sorts of things that have happened in people's lives. Some of it is very, very real. Some of it is physical. Some of it is also imagined when, you know, you feel victimized, and things do tend to get put out of proportion. Rule number 1, deal with it the moment it happens. Don't push it away under the carpet, and don't allow it to accumulate. You know, because there is a chemical reaction that happens in the body when you have these thoughts, and it does shut down your thinking capacities. It does chemically shut down your logical reasoning. It's the biochemistry that kicks into play when these emotions go rampant. And knowledge is power. You have to know that this is what is happening in your body. You know, your throat gets constricted, your mouth goes dry, you get a funny feeling in your stomach. You know, someone has asked, a student once asked me, how do I know if I'm doing the right thing? I said, listen to your body, take a minute, listen to your body. There are 12 signs the body will give you. Even if you get 1 out of the 12, you don't have to tick all the boxes, because each one of us is in a different state of human evolution. For some will not listen till all the 12 boxes are ticked. Some will on the first tick. The first thing that will happen is your breathing will go fast. You will start hyperventilating. Your throat will get constricted. You will feel a ringing in your ears. You'll hear a funny ringing in your ears. Your eyes will start drying. You won't be able to blink. You know, these are actually physiological things that happen. You'll get that queasy stomach, you know, butterflies in your stomach. You'll feel constricted. And, you know, if the constriction is so real that if you try to take a breath, you will not be able to take a breath because the muscles would have broken. Sometimes you will get a cramp in your upper arm. It could either be the left or the right, but most often it is the left upper arm that goes into, you know, you'll feel an odd pain. You could feel a numbness in your fingers. This is your body telling you. It's responding, you know, the parasympathetic and the sympathetic nervous system. It is a science. Emotions, understanding emotions is a science. It's a pity that this is not what is taught in schools.
Right.
I had to go through 3 levels of science education to finally reach this information. This is what should be taught. I mean, you don't need to be, you know, a huge doctorate to understand this. They're simple things. And if you stop to listen, the intuitive clarity that comes through in any situation, you know, it's easier said. I mean, I know what I went through when I was road jack, so I know it's easier to say. And you know, when I didn't feel anything when I went blind. I didn't feel anything when I broke my back because the pain and the discomfort was so much. When I was called in and given the cancer diagnosis, I laughed it off. I mean, that's for me, laughter and humor is my first response. That's what I use as a protective shield. One thing I never did was never ask the why me question. You know, that's one thing when people who are ill always ask, why me? What did I do? Why am I being picked on? I realized that this was being given to me for a reason. I did cry. I sat one night, whole night, and I cried. I felt lost. And for the first time, I remembered my mother. And I started singing all the songs we would sing together. You know, it was my way of sort of connecting. And then the training kicks in. Okay, what thought is this? Thank you, get it out of the way. Now, what is the lesson to be learned? What do I need to do next? Fortunately, between the pain, the chemo and everything, I mean, I didn't have much of, the brain didn't have much opportunity to do its little number on me. So most of the time I was meditating. And when you go into a theta state, you know, you are in that fifth thought level where you're in total bliss and nothing matters. But it is there. It's a technique, it's a training, it's a learning, it can be done.
Right. No, this has been such good stuff. Thank
There's
you.
one trick that everybody and anybody should do and can do. If you can talk to someone, talk it. And tell that person you don't want their opinion. Because it's human nature. Someone tells me something, you get into, oh, and then the gossip starts, and then, you know, the to and froing happens. You just tell them, I just want to get this off my chest. So just listen. Right. Don't give me your opinion. We are so good at giving our opinions and screwing the other person up more than what they're already doing. But, and which is, and you know, when I see a lot of the tweets and the posts, I can read between the lines. I can see what's actually happening and what we are trying to say, and they're not able to say it. So talk to someone. Forget social media. Pick up the phone. Talk to someone. Reach out to someone. And if you can't do that, this is something that has worked with practically every person I've worked with, Ben. It's called, oh God. Anyway, it will come back to me. What you do is for 7 days, you take a pen and a paper and you write down everything that you're feeling. Just write it down. Write it down, write it down, write it down, write it down. Just start writing. Don't force it. And the moment you can't write anymore, stop, you're done. It could take 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And then don't later on say, oh, I forgot to do this. No, that session is over. Write it down. And then that piece of paper, you burn it and flush it down the toilet. And say, thank you, I'm letting you go by. You have no more place in my life. It works. It might sound kind of crazy. And are you crazy? You know, like someone said, are you kidding? I said, do it. It works.
Right. It's powerful, isn't it?
Yeah, just do it. Because when you're writing to a paper, you can say anything. Because the paper is not going to answer you back. It's not going to be judgmental. And if you can, at the end of what you've written, answer these 3 questions. What is it that I was working on? What? Why am I so upset? What? Answer the what question. Answer the why question. Very, very often we have ideas of who we should be, what we should do, the kind of success we should have in life, the kind of clothes we should have, you know, the kind of shoes you should have if you're a girl, you know, the kind of boyfriend you should have, the kind of job you should have, is never what you have wanted. It's what your peer group has made you believe, or your social circle has made you believe, or your, you know, the groups that you move in, or society has made you believe that this is it. This is the correct formula. And then you realize that you start judging yourself and planning everything based upon someone else's parameters. You know, my mother would always say, there's only one person you have to compete against, and that's yourself. You need to better yourself, your performance every time. Right. It doesn't matter how good or how bad the other person was. You have to be the best you are capable of being and be better every time. That's it. So if you throw these outside influences out of your sphere of perception, then 90% of the emotional pain you will find in society just disappears. Most of it, I mean, so when you write that piece of paper, you ask these questions. What is it that's driving this feeling? Why am I? What's the responsibility? Once you get that answer, you burn that and throw it out. You literally burn that sheet of paper. Don't set the house on fire. Burn it and flush it down. There is something in that entire activity that purges it out of your system.
It's true. I can tell you it works too. I like what you say. I mean, that's something I teach as well in the acronym of power. P is for pray, or talk about it. Talk about your feelings with somebody who can help. And like you're saying, who's not going to judge or give you an opinion kind of thing. When it's prayer, it's with the divine being, like you're saying, we're divinely made. And so it's the master healer, somebody who totally understands us anyway. The writing is so powerful, and the reaching out is incredibly powerful. So Malini, you've taught us a lot of fantastic things, and I know it's late, so we'll respect your time, but how can people reach out to you on social media if they'd like to connect?
I think my website is the best bet, and it's infinitelife.co.in. I'm sure you put a link in the description, so it's easy for them to just connect. So if they connect with me on my website, I think they will have access to all my material, all my courses, all my podcasts. And I don't know, I hopefully should have a book come out, but I leave that to divine time, because I've my entire life lived a surrealistic life. I've just followed the tune the piper has played and the drummer has drummed. I've just followed it, no questions asked. But there is a book that needs to be written, and probably it should come out by the end of. I'm still in Bombay. I live in Delhi. I'm still in Bombay in the lockdown. Today is day 127.
Oh my!
And I haven't stepped out of the house. So.
Wow.
So there's a lot of material that I have to go back to my computer and pick it up from there.
Yeah, but hey, I'm sure that book will be a great one. I'll be looking forward to it.
Certainly.
Thank you so much for your time, and all you listeners, thank you for joining us in this episode for another Champions of Self episode on our podcast, and we'll talk to you next time.